Good morning. How you guys doing?
Good morning, Roman. So exciting to be here.
Me too. Even though the reason why we're here today is really not so exciting at all, I think we can sorry, we can definitely do a big impact.
Yeah.
So for you guys, I know you guys are resource guarding those shows and you don't want to share it, but if want to be part of the solution, it's a good time to kind of push that share button and share what
Yeah.
we're doing here. We try to discuss how to stop the dog surrender crisis. Um, and Yeah, it's really underestimated right now as I get information from shelters and rescues that I talk to, and it's not just local, I talk international. Like Italy, I was just speaking German now, Italy, Germany, even in Egypt and even in India, things are really getting weird about rescues and how the dogs being back surrendered. So, um, um, you guys are welcome to join the conversation, especially if you are leading a shelter or a rescue. We're really open, kind of to get a little bit of an input, a background info. I invite a couple of people. Unfortunately, it was kind of short notice, so I'm not sure if um, people have time to hop on. So let me give you a little bit of an insight here. So research recently said that, let me share the screen here. Hold on, here we go. That there is a crisis out there, and the crisis says that likely Americans start surrendering their dogs. And there are numbers already out there. Even though people try to play it down, says, yeah, it's only 10%, but 10%, it's a lot of dogs. And those 10% will go back to the shelters who are 100% full, which leads to a regular conclusion that, hey, those 10% will have to go somewhere. And so the question is, where will they go? The
Mhm.
fosters are overwhelmed, the rescues are overwhelmed, the shelters are full capacity. Even veterinarians are taking dogs in from
Yeah.
people who kind of like have behavior issues. And those 10% that is the study talks about is only 20% of all the dogs have changed hands or being adopted during the crisis, because people didn't go only to the shelters. Some shelters didn't even have adoption going on, but people, the backyard breeders, that was kind of high business, driving with trucks, selling dogs at the parking lot and the shopping center. I've seen it. I was like, what will happen there? And there is no preliminary education, and there is no, um, let's call it pre-education. And there is whoever wanted a dog would get a dog, especially puppies. I know from shelters and rescues, the numbers went up to $800 per puppy from
Wow.
rescues, from rescues, from
Wow.
rescues, right? And there's a shortage. So, well, if there is a shortage and shelters would not adopt dogs out, people would just go online and,
Right.
demand. Here we go. But now, when the poop hits the fan, and people struggling with going back to work and behavior issues, lack of socialization, I call them the COVID puppies, um, those situations will not be able to address, because we have a shortage on trainers too, because many are not doing house visits, many are overwhelmed with online training, and people have not set up anything for that. And now suddenly there is not enough support to stop that return rate, that, let's call it a landslide. I
Right.
know I'm
And
being extreme here, but it is serious. Okay, I'm not
yeah. And to
making
add to
fear
that,
porn here.
my own personal experience, if you as a trainer have taken in any of these dogs, you now have less time to help other people. And I'll let me share a real quick. Can I share my screen? Well, here, let me just do this. You can't see him. He's down there. Ajax, wake up. Never mind. I have a big dog who has surrendered to me. And because of the extreme training needs, I'm out 20 hours a week of time that I could be helping other people. And that's just huge. That's just the hundreds of other people that I could help in that amount of time is, you know, it's gone. It's flat gone. Oh, are
So I'm
you
really,
muted?
no, no, I was my bad. I'm really sorry you have to go through this, and I know how frustrating it is. I'm getting frustrated. I mean, I work with professionals too, as well as you do. We
Yeah.
coach people, and I see what's they're overworked, they're
Yeah.
overstressed. I mean, this morning alone, if I scroll down my messages, I got at least 6 messages, and it's not even 9 o'clock yet, of people like, oh my God, my dog did this, my dog did that. What should I do? I called the rescue, blah, blah. And the rescue is full, the shelter is full, going to kill him. So there is this whole panic going on. And I'm definitely not into fear porn, but it is a problem.
Yeah.
Now, what do you see from your perspective are the main reasons those things happening?
Well, so contrary to popular belief, I there's a lot of real concern out there that COVID has caused separation anxiety, and I
Yeah.
I actually am not sure that it has, but I think that improper um, transition between being home and going to work, making that transition really sudden is traumatic and shocking to the dogs and can cause separation anxiety. Being home doesn't cause the separation anxiety.
No, leaving does.
Right. And leaving without the dog learning that it's okay. So separation anxiety is big. Lack of socialization is huge. Most of my clients right now are coming in because they have stranger danger, um, and that's stranger danger to other dogs and to people, and it's severe. It is truly, truly severe. These dogs are reacting at 100 yards, and they're reacting with hackles and teeth, and it's scary. It's easy to deal with, but it's still scary. Um, and I'm sorry, I say it's easy to deal with because that's what I deal with every day. And so it's easy for me. I know how, but it's really hard for the owners. They're traumatized for it. Um, those are the big ones. But then there's hyper arousal, there's puppy nipping, there's house soiling. It's all the standard reasons dogs get surrendered to shelters. We know these reasons. And we also know that we can prevent 80% of these dogs from going to the shelter if they just take a puppy class. Like, just take a puppy class, please. But if you're already having problems, then come see an expert. Come talk to an expert. It's not hugely expensive. It's a little bit pricey, but compared to purchasing a dog, compared to feeding a dog, compared to, a lifetime of vet bills, it's cheap and it lasts you for a lifetime. So come see a pro, take an online course. Online courses, we can help walk you through the steps of socialization. Oh, I'm already going into solutions instead of what are the problems. So I'll shut up now.
Here we go. So I'm very lucky because we're talking about experts. I have an expert, Sue the Billy. She is, if I'm correct, she's the president of National Great Pyrenees Rescue,
Mhm.
and she's available. So I thought I'm gonna call her in so we can talk about things. Okay. Okay. So here is Sue.
Hi, Sue.
Hi.
So Sue, um, you're leading one of the biggest national rescues. And I was wondering, how is it possible for you to do all these things? Taking dogs in from the shelters, taking dogs in from let's call it owner surrender, and organizing all those foster homes and still have control what's going on actually, in your opinion?
We have a lot of great volunteers, to help with these things. Get the dogs in, evaluated, and then, the vetting and the medical too, and then, addressing behavior problems as best we can, and trying to move the dog to the right foster to work on any issues they may have. And that's a challenge, a real challenge, to give the foster homes the knowledge and the confidence to deal, with these very big dogs, that may have problems, no matter if it's aggression in the worst case, or, we have marking, you have separation anxiety, dogs not getting along with other dogs, or cats, just a lot of things to make the foster families comfortable, in holding on to a dog and enriching that dog and making that dog the best they can be for their adoptive home. The challenge
um,
every day.
Now, I know, because I talk with several people out there. There is a crisis also going on, that rescues and shelters are so overfilled right now that
Hmm.
the shelters have to take dogs back in, and in order, because of the law, they have to take in stray dogs and all these dogs. Now the other dogs cannot be taken in. Now what people do is they just let the dogs stray. So the shelter has to take them in. Now, since they have to take them in, they have to make room for it. And the first thing they
Hmm.
have to do is start filtering those who are likely to be adopted, find their homes, and those who are likely not to be adopted and find their homes. And then they
Hmm.
have to make the tough decisions. Yes, I'm going to call it out. They have to do euthanasia, likely for two main reasons: A, medical reasons. So
Hmm.
the medical level reason of euthanasia falls lower and lower, and the same happens for behavior euthanasia. The level goes lower and lower and lower. Now, my question is, how does it affect a rescue? I'm not saying you in particular, but in general, what are the rescues struggling with, who have to deal with similar things? Dogs are being adopted out, and suddenly those dogs coming back. You guys, your fosters are over capacity right now. I'm not saying you particular, but in general. And then what goes in a rescuer's mind around that? What options do they have?
Our boarding costs are up because we have more dogs in boarding, to try to, put them somewhere to hold on to them. Unfortunately, we can't take all the owner surrenders we're asked to help with if they're not our dogs. We just are full, and we try, but we just can't take them all. And especially when they have a behavior issue, it's, that much harder to take them in. Roman, with adopters, NGPR will, um, pay for them to talk to you and try to keep that dog in that home, if you can help them with the behavior that they're struggling with. But thankfully, we haven't had to make any of those decisions yet. But, we try to keep an eye on the dogs we have, and keep them moving, and make the most of every application that comes in, whether it's a foster or an adopter, and try to, find a dog for that person, and address, the application, and have someone work it.
Thank you.
So,
That's
but
so important. Caitlin.
Yeah, I have a question for you, Sue. We
yeah.
know that a class, puppies going to a class with their owner really reduces shelter surrender.
Mhm.
Do you think that your fosters could really benefit from a class that would help walk them through, how to prepare, and what are the stages of, stress for these foster pups coming in, foster dogs, and how to do at least some level of work, like what Roman and I do, in terms of behavior modification and management. Do you think that would help your fosters out a lot, and help them move dogs on faster?
I do, and we did one with Roman a few years ago, and some people felt it was very helpful. I know it was for me. I ended up with from one foster to four, so that helped me manage those dogs better. And so I'm looking forward to taking the class next week and seeing if that's something, that we might be able to move forward with offering on some kind of a basis.
Yeah.
Because I do believe we need to give them, as many resources, whether it's written or talking with them or videos or, classes, group or individual, to give them the tools they need to deal with these dogs, because they're wonderful dogs, but they're not easy dogs, but by
No.
any stretch. Great Pyrenees are their own independent thinkers, and they need their own ways of dealing with them.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually get a lot of trainers asking me about the Great Pyrs because they are so different from so many
Mhm.
of the other dogs, and it's not a dog I ever recommend for new dog owners.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sue. Now,
You're welcome.
I, I know from a study that very well, very versed rescue friend in Long Island did with a librarian who volunteered his hours to do a national study and capture information from all the rescues and shelters, no, from shelters, sorry, and capture how much does it cost a shelter to have a dog in the shelter per day. So that was an interesting number, and I couldn't believe the number. I have that email at some point. The average cost $75 per day. That was back in 2012.
Wow.
$75 a day for the first 13 days.
Wow.
Which the reason why it's so expensive is because we have the intake, we have the examinations, we have the veterinarian care, we have spaying and neutering, vaccinations, blah blah blah, and the number is big, and then it drops.
Right.
Hmm.
But if I ask Sue, if a dog comes to you, how much, from your experience, I'm not putting it down in cents, how much does it rescue cost from donation money to have that dog in a foster care? I want to compare like pricing. And I know that a shelter has to take a dog in, but also in the dog shelter, also surrenders go in. The same thing, kind of clients that you would get in from a surrender. Like, what is the cost comparison shelter fostering and foster fostering? Do you have an idea and a number that could help?
I would say, and I don't know if I'm looking at it the same way as you're talking about it, but our adoption fees probably end up covering 50% of that dog's costs on average. Some
Mm-hmm.
much less and some much more. 50% of the dog's costs.
Mm-hmm.
So our adoption fees are in the 500 range.
Okay.
It
So that
costs
would be
eight $4,000.
$250 amount for how
Yep.
long in average
A
would
thousand, $1,000.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
yeah, costs about
Mhm.
$1,000 to bring a dog into rescue, and then
Yep.
she's saying that the adoption fees cover about 50%.
right?
Yep. That's what
So
I would say off the top of my head. I'm just,
right.
Yeah.
don't have anything in front of me, but that's,
What is
that's my
the average holding time that, or not holding time, like the turnaround time, dogs coming in, dogs going out? What is kind of an average number that you may have in mind?
I would say like 3 months, but some are
Okay.
much longer and some are, like puppies, they go very quickly. Some dogs are just very popular when they come in, and we'll have people actually fighting over them. But I would say maybe 3 to 4 months. We have 100 dogs in our rescue right now, give or take, and 50% of them have been with the rescue before January 2021. So they came in before onto our books before January 2021, and the rest have come in after. About 50% of the 100 dogs. So, so we haven't had those dogs for more than 6 months. That's quite a while.
Right.
Surprise.
Yeah.
I don't, I just did the back of the envelope numbers. We're comparing apples to oranges here, but I want to say that it's, she's ballpark figure $11 a day for the dogs that are in rescue. So much less expensive to have them in
Mhm.
foster care than through
I,
a shelter.
I don't know what you do, Caitlin and Sue, personally, and me myself. When I take when back in time, I would take fosters in. I don't have the capacity right now. I was
Mhm.
spending more, more money on the fosters than I would spend on my own dogs, because you know what, the foster, he has to get a better chew toy, he has to have a more stronger toy, and he has to have all this extra fancy food. And I'm really coming from a food nutrition healing perspective, and
Mhm.
I was ending up more. So it doesn't really reflect how much the foster will spend on the dog for that period of time onto the rescue. So the foster itself takes a lot of concept on it.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true. The fosters are usually supplying food. A lot of them, are the treats and the collar, leashes, beds that the dogs might eat a couple beds, so it can really add up to foster a dog, really.
Right. And then we have also the medical situation. I mean, I know back then I was fostering for large national mastiff breed rescues, and the exchange of cash flow was a little bit delayed. So I had to pay the vet bills going to the vet. I had to make
Mhm.
negotiations to get the dog quickly to the vet, because I usually would take dogs in from Manhattan Animal Shelter, who not a happy place to take dogs in, So and then I had to kind of have my own network of veterinarians to be able to handle that dog in that situation, and would let me in to be with that dog through the examinations, because these dogs were not a happy puppies and that size, right? Um, and so, yeah, I would also spend a lot of my personal time into that part beyond the regular stuff. Yeah, I'm so appreciate you having such information. I know you guys have to do things, Sue. You're welcome to
Mhm.
hang out, but you're welcome to say, okay, guys, I need to back go rescue. So, is there anything that you want to share as a rescue? What are your needs? For example, me as a trainer, Caitlin is a trainer. Trainers out there who understand the breed and understand the concept of behavior modification or behavior healing. I'm not talking to like printing cards and start doing the job. Um, what are your needs as a rescue? Not as specific as National Great Pyrenees Rescue, just as a rescue in general. What are the needs that you need from us professionals to support you to get more?
More information to these fosters, more support to the fosters, more making them feel confident in their abilities
Right. I see
to
Caitlin.
take care of
Take her,
them.
this is an important information. There's not no information out there who capture that. So
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
know you said there are a lot of trainers here and some people from rescue and shelters watching, and not now, even later. But
Mhm.
take this conversation we have pretty serious, because Caitlin and I do support a lot of fosters and rescues. I think if I count my numbers, I don't know how about you, Caitlin. How many rescues do you work with?
I don't work with very many rescues directly, 4 or 5 maybe, but I work with a lot of trainers who work with rescues. So I have a network of about 800 trainers, and I would
Wow.
say probably 20% of those work directly with rescues and shelters.
That's
Um,
great.
Mhm.
yeah, and we are working on a foster class, and it'll probably be useful for new adopters as well, because
Mhm.
we want to set people up for that. The first 30 days are so critical, so critical. First 3 days are insanely
Caitlin,
critical.
We want to
shoot
set them up
shoot me
for
that text.
success. Yes.
The
Set them up
text,
for success.
sorry, Roman, you
Okay.
frozen
No,
or,
no, I was trying to hear what Suze has to
oh,
say.
sorry.
Um, can you send me quickly the link to your class so I can post it in
We're
the
still we're
comments?
still working on building it. So what Sue has to say
Okay,
here,
good.
I'm working on it with a young woman from North Carolina.
Okay.
I've got the state right, and it should be online soon. We're really hoping.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Meanwhile,
Great.
until you guys do that, I have next week a class, and I thought maybe I should share it. Where is it? Oh, not here. Up. Hold on. I'm getting there. Um, Stop sharing. Oh, here we go. Now I got this right, I guess. Um, yep, this one here. So this is more a general overview for a critical period of dogs being adopted in a house, from a rescue, and or from a shelter, and that's supposed to help people kind of get a better idea of how to secure the dog in that home and kind of get a good kickstart for things to go smooth, no matter the breed, no matter the size, no matter the age. And a similar class, just more the extended version. You guys, I remember National Great Pyrenees, you did a 6 week class, right?
Yep. Yep.
This is just a very short version, but essential. And I
Mm.
think, Caitlin, you're doing pretty much the same thing here. Um, more from more as a class organization. I don't know. Tell me a little bit about what your
Yeah.
secrets plans are.
So right now we have 14. We're going to try to cut it down to something like 6 or 8. Um, Presentations, including video and stuff like that. And it's going to range from everything like, how do you prepare to have the dog in your home? So setting up your home so you've got the appropriate number of baby gates and stuff like that, so that you're safe for those first 3 days. You're safe, your cats are safe, your dogs are safe, everything like that.
Mhm.
Transport to the home, meeting you for the first time, setting up that baseline of trust. So the dog at least has one person in the household that he can look to for, oh my God, my world has fallen apart, but at least I've got this security blanket. Um, and then how to introduce them to the other dogs, the other household members, how to reduce stress. How do we take the dog out for a walk? All of those kinds of things, proper chew toys and enrichment activities and stuff like that, and how to handle behavior issues, because we know that this is the prime time, because dogs are so stressed out. This is the prime time that even if they tested in the shelter, great, with other dogs and with other cats, and their prior foster had 27 children, this is the time that they're going to show reactivity because they're so
Yep.
stressed. And so fosters are going to be going, oh my God, they said he was good with cats, right?
Right?
Well,
Yeah, the
Yeah.
foster is lying, right? Or the rescue is lying. Not
right.
I mean, there's a study done that actually the data that happens in the shelter cannot be projected onto the adopter.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Because
kind of
the
like,
dogs are shut down in the shelter, and then they get to
right,
the
right,
home and they're like, oh my, one of the things that happens is, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. I have to keep anybody from taking it from me. So they
right,
become
right.
really possessive over their toys, their space, their person, and then they get separation anxiety and everything goes out the window. And the poor foster is going,
Mhm.
oh my God, I thought I was getting a dog who was good with everything. And
Now, so if you have you have fosters in different places in the country, right? And I know you collaborate also with Texas, and you collaborate also with Michigan, and you collaborate also with you guys are in Ohio, and you are in Connecticut. I mean,
Mhm.
National Rescue. I mean, really National Rescue. I don't know if you guys do also with California, but do you guys reach out also to local trainers for support?
We've tried. Are you asking me that?
Yeah,
We've
yeah,
tried, and unfortunately, what we find is they just don't understand the breed. Um, we had one of our dogs evaluated on Long Island, and then I met the dog later, and it's just the dog they described and the dog I met, and walked around and took him places and took him to the beach and had him with my cats and everything. It's not the same dog, you know.
Right, right,
So yeah, it's very hard to find someone who understands the Great Pyrenees. That's
right.
been our what we've come
There,
across or come up against.
I
yeah.
don't know if you
And looking
guys,
for local.
I don't know if you guys understand why I have Caitlin here and we talk about stuff because we kind of come from the same angle. We don't see dogs to be bad or need to be tamed or need to be corrected or punished
Hmm.
for something they do. We do understand the primary needs of a dog and how those needs are met first and try to affect the environmental factors first before we actually make an assessment what is left that a dog actually does on his own,
Hmm.
concept. And we also look at trauma, and we'll also look at education, we also look at medical conditions. So we collaborate. I don't know how about Caitlin, how many people you're working with. I have a veteran, I have a certified nutritionist, I have a veterinary nutritionist, I have a homeopath, and I have a veterinarian to reach out as a team. Plus, I have for psychological support for my clients, I have also a couple of people that I can refer to them for them to deal with their own emotional issues because they had lost their dog, because the dog bit the child, because there is a severe trauma in the family, there are family disputes happening because of that dog. So I need to we need, as behaviors, we need to cover as a hub. And for the rescues, we need to do the same thing. We need to give suggestions. We need to support the rescue, understanding that the rescue will not be able to go and buy super awesome, super healthy dog food in the market, but we can do research for them and collect data. I remember, Sue, I sent you that link, right?
Hmm.
Where I did a comparison for different food brands and say, hey, maybe buying a more expensive food that has more nutrients, more palatability, a better nutrient intake is a less expensive version of buying the cheap food that you have to feed more and have unhealthier dogs, right? And so these are important things that we have to do as behaviors to support our system. And yes, I think the trainer should not do it for free. The vet doesn't do it for free because it costs a lot of time to be available. Yes, you can give discounts to a rescue, and if your rescue takes advantage of it, you kind of make your point because you have to create those boundaries. Hey, I have my day off today. I want to help you, but I have working fatigue. I cannot work 24/7. I have my own dogs, I have my own family, and I've been through this fatigue crisis. I was like, you know what? I'm done. Okay, I'm just block my Facebook page and I'm gonna go back to my old business. I'm working in the industry, right? And you guys are going, and I appreciate you, Sue, and I appreciate you, Caitlin, because you go beyond that line and says, you know what? This is what I do. I cannot just go away from it. Just because I don't like school doesn't need to have stop teaching children. Just because I'm done with the surrenders doesn't mean I cannot support the rescue and I can work my clients. And I like, Caitlin, what you say, you know what? I cannot work with all the people. I'm not just one dog at a time. I think we are beyond that one dog at a time. And it says one trainer at a time, or one rescue at a time, or one community at a time. And I like also the fact that you have organized your community. I just recently moved here. And you says, you know what? One community can help thousands of dogs if we have created that network of training support. It's not different as a school system, not different as a hospital system. It needs to be organized because right now we are in a chaos. The industry is not regulated, the rescue industry is not regulated, the shelter industry is not really regulated. Okay? And everybody has this free range to do whatever they want. And you cannot even account anyone. I know shelters just kill on intake without even holding um, even the 10-day rules or 3-day holding period. Like we're done, like done. He's a pit, gone. He growled, gone. Puppy, mother, she growled. Mom, dad, puppy's adopted. That's it, done. Next, and it's that has to stop.
Yeah, and I think you know, Andrea just mentioned it there, but if when we educate, and I'd love to work with more fosters. It's why we're putting together the foster class, is because if we can educate the fosters, you know, those people um, are oftentimes end up working with the adopter, and so not only can they help the dog, but they've got their friends and their family and the adopters, and they can help educate them. So it's back to that pyramid scheme, but it's a pyramid scheme of education. When we educate a trainer, we influence thousands of dogs. When we educate a foster, we educate you know hundreds of, or potentially dozens of people and their families and their dogs. And when we you know when we set up a class or something like that, I can get people not only listening to me, and I don't need to be the one talking all the time, but I can get people talking to each other. And that community is really, really powerful, to say, hey, look, I tried this and it worked, but it only worked for a week and then the problem was worse. Or they can say, hey, look, I tried this and it was hard, but it really worked, or I tried this and it was stupid, or any of the stories that they can tell, they can help support each other. So having having good communities, I think, is really
Mm.
important.
I see one thing that helps a lot with the rescues that I work with, and I was very lucky to do a workshop funded by Medis Fund back in 2015 with um, Austin Shelter. Was a class that kind of not only had the hands-on part, also the online part to reach even more adopters and more rescues. Sorry, more fosters and adopters, because not everybody is available for the whole week
Yeah.
or for the long period of time. So we need to accommodate with them too. So there was a recording, there were documents involved. Plus, we had hands-on for the specific people, for example, the behavior team or the specific fosters who have the difficult cases, that kind of the center fosters or the manager fosters. And then we got data out of that. And I have that data on my website if anybody's interested. We saw that people who went through a class, through an education class, felt more supported by the rescue or the shelter.
Nice.
The information they had helped them understand better aggression and better trauma and better different behaviors, making them more confident working with a dog who has behavior issues or has a bite history. And not only that, they will be able to take even more dogs because they have this confident place in place, because their family is also a decision maker that we have to take in consideration.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not just one person taking the job in and everybody has to support. People have to be aware that it's a family system that takes the shelters and rescues into their homes.
Yeah.
It's not just one person, because that person is
Mhm.
missing from other tasks. I mean, I know Sue, she has a lot of dogs, and I was very lucky back in 2012, 11, I don't remember. It's been kind of a decade where I came
It's
to
been
your
a
house. And I was
while.
like, oh my God, he has so many dogs. And I'm like, and there's simple things like leash walking that actually improves the adoption capacity.
Yeah.
How can I make a dog quickly adopted? Because it's not just getting the dog into the foster, it's how to get the dog quickly out. And not only the dog quickly out, how he can be transitioning to the final adopter. Plus, and I know from National Pyrenees Rescue, they also give the foster power of choice on the adopter,
Mm.
because he has physical contact with the adopter. Am I right? In cases, we're not saying everybody does the same, but I was a foster in training, so if I had a bad feeling about the adopter, I would raise my flag. I wouldn't say anything to the adopter at that point, right? Caitlin, what's your experience on that?
I've actually had some really recent experience with that, where the rescue, they are overwhelmed right now. I will give them that, but they didn't communicate well with me as the dog's prior trainer and with the foster. And they brought in a completely different trainer, and the family wasn't experienced enough with the dog. And at this point, the foster wants to quit. The foster doesn't think she's ever going to foster again because she had so little control. And because the dog went to a home that at this point we have concerns about. They're their heart's in the right place, they're wonderful people, but they're getting bad information, and the dog is an extremely challenging dog. So we want these people to learn, but we don't want them to learn at the expense of the dog. And that's a really hard place to be in. It would be lovely for us if we knew that the information was carried through, and that, because everybody falls in love with the dogs that they foster. We want pictures. Every dog that I personally rescue, I call up in a day, 3 days, a week, a month, a year, and then I expect and ask for, Christmas pictures every single year. We want to know that when we've homed them, that it has worked, and that they haven't just been flipped or been sent to the shelter, or that we weren't successful. We need that feedback.
I like that point because yes, shelters need rescue, need support. Yes, fosters need support. Yes, the rescue and the shelter need support. But you have to take the professional seriously in consideration. If the trainers or behavior says, I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think that's the part that evaluates is important for them to know that my choice matters. Because the last thing you want, and it happens all the time, we call them foster fails, but foster fail is a big problem because it takes down the capacity from 50 to
Yeah.
100%. A foster fail will not be able to fill that spot that he just failed. And why does the foster fail? It's because he doesn't trust the rescue,
Yep.
or he doesn't trust the adoption, or he doesn't trust the dog. Why? Because the support system collapsed. And he says, before the dog being put to down, I'll take the risk, I'll keep the dog, I pay the price. And that is not a good idea.
Yep.
And a rescue should have basically supporting that system and says, hey, we're going to find you a solution for that. Consult that trainer. And I'm sure that behaviorists should share the price and says, you know what, I'm helping the community. I have my clients actually in my program. I have everybody who scheduled an appointment has the option to pay forward, and I have many clients. I was surprised on that. I just put it out there because just in case somebody's really big money and is like, who don't care? I just donate extra money. How many people are actually donating half of a session, and I cover the other half, towards somebody in need, from a rescue or from a shelter? And I think that's important to take in consideration. Yes, we do service to others. We're not just filling up our backs, and we're not taking, I know some people do, and I'm not part of those, and Caitlin definitely not, that take advantage of those crises and says, well, I'm booked out for the next 3 months. I can up my prices like 500%. Now I can charge like $600 per session, right? Well, if you want to afford me, you can put your dog down. It would cost you some amount of money, maybe $300 to put your dog down. So what are your chances?
Yeah.
So we have as behaviorists and trainers in the community to filter those bad people out as well, with all due respect to the profession. But these are not professionals. Okay, they're scammers, and all they do is they destroy our network. They destroy the foster with a bad advice. They destroy the rescue with putting them in a difficult position to be responsible for a bite incident that's going to happen, and somebody can go after the rescue, and the rescue have to be very careful how to handle those things. And otherwise, if a rescue has a bite in history dog in their kennel because the dog was returned by a foster because of bad training, that rescue cannot post that dog for adoption until further evaluation and further assessment and further training,
I
which
wonder.
doubles the price.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point there, and that was one of the things that I experienced before. The Not all trainers are created equal, and I don't want to diss any trainers, but there's a difference between a trainer and a behaviorist, and then somebody who trains, a military trainer who trains dogs to bite. Pardon me for saying this, but those folks come at the behavior problems from the bass ackward end. They come at it from a control and more force and more rigidity and more,
Power, overpowering, over controlling.
Yeah, but also, and this is a really, really interesting one, is they expect the human to be more in control of themselves and more and to step up to the plate with some, some very serious structure and stuff like that. And it can work for a dog who's been trained from, little puppyhood to put up with, all of this kind of overt control and stuff like that. And it can work for somebody who is got a really good handle on control and military precision and stuff like that. But it doesn't work for most families. What most families needs is, oh, look, I accidentally left the baby gate open and
The
my dog,
kids open the door.
right. And my dog didn't eat anybody. Yay. No. So, somebody, something like a behavior consultant or somebody who approaches it from a family perspective, really, really, I think does a better job in the long run. And my data working, with the Facebook group and the trainers that I work with suggests that it is a longer term, more successful approach. But I'm I'd love to see rescues forming a closer collaboration with individual trainers that have success. And I know that's really hard. It requires the trainer to be willing to spend time and to work with you, and it requires, that long-term follow-up with your fosters and with your and do you guys do that, Sue? Do you guys call your adopters a year down the road and say, how's it going?
We try to. There's a like a sort of a form letter that goes out if a month or two after the adoption to check in. The adoption coordinators many times stay in touch for months or years after, and it's in our contract to contact us back if you're having problems with the dog, and you need to return the dog or you just like some help or advice. And whether it's a month after you adopt the dog, a year after, or 10 years after. We hear from a lot of people um, for for quite a long time after they've adopted the dogs. The door's always open there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, we try to follow up as best we can um, with the volunteers that we have.
Yeah.
So
I
That
found out
is,
that, and we had also a group for National Great Pyrenees Rescues, that is alumni group, like people who went through the class have their own group that can post things, updating things. And also, Austin Pets Alive back then, or still has an alumni group for dogs who are being adopted through Austin Pets Alive. And I think they have like 8,000 adoption in Austin just every year, um, where the people have still contact and still are there getting information like on the side. They don't have to say that really I'm struggling with, but they get information in an actually self-help group in that group environment with documents available, with support team available, and there's monitored. And if somebody needs help, people kind of being sent to the local APA rescue. And I think this is something we need to encourage in our close community, that we need to have everybody down of those local shelters. And I work, for example, also with Humane Society in Grants Pass to take in dogs that are from a long-term stay, long-term shelter dogs, or dogs who have never been successful in homes, to kind of rehab them and then put them back into foster, put them back into the adoption system. So all these things have to be kind of like discussed with local authorities and local humane societies and local rescues. So start closing those gaps in between. Oh, we're not talking to that rescue. Oh, with that, no, we don't talk with the shelter. They're doing
yeah.
their own thing. I know there are political things going on, but you know what? Voters see good things happening and they do appreciate. I've seen that in Austin, and voters have power, and communities have power, and behaviorists have power, and trainers have power, and community leaders have power. So we have to kind of empower ourselves to go beyond that line and says, hey, let's sit together here. Let's do an online class for those people who make decisions to educate them about new scientific evidence, new data, the situation, because they need help as well, not just our end, their end too. And I know American Pets Alive does workshops and has these workshops and seminars online. And I think you, Caitlin, and I do also coach local behaviorists and trainers to do online education and learn how to handle these complex online sessions because they're very complicated. It's not as easy as it sounds. Making online assessments and guiding people through online training programs to help their dogs who trainers wouldn't even go into that house because of the dog's behavior. You wouldn't even help the dog going in there. So how do you transmit that information to the adopter or to the foster to handle the situation without you physically being there? It's a whole system in place.
How do I handle that?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, very um there's trust. There's definitely trust. And there is, and this is very important, is when we speak with the people who are handling the dog, we need to, you don't want to invalidate their feelings or their assessments, but you have to listen for the objective facts. So when somebody says, my dog is mad at me and he's peeing every time I leave, I hear, oh my God, I'm really stressed and I'm having a conflict relationship with my dog. And my dog is possibly got separation anxiety or something like that because he's now eliminating, which is a physiological response. It may have underpinnings in emotions, but so as a behavior consultant, we definitely, I work with my trainers to do that kind of analysis. And of course, we do video. We get video from folks, and there's a lot of information in video, um, not just the behavior that they're trying to show, but there's information in how their relationship goes on a normal day. And then we can try, all behavior analysis, all applied behavior analysis is a hypothesis. We say, I think this might be what's going on with the dog. Let's try this solution. And we try that solution in a safe environment so nobody gets hurt. We make sure to set up the safety. And then we test the solution and we say, how is this working? Does it work for the human? And does it work for the pet? And I want to share one thing if I can, Roman,
Sure.
on, because we really are working on this um, with our with all of our trainers and everybody like that. Um, this is how we really approach behavior problems in these really challenging dogs. And I know that the peers are exceptionally challenging. I love working with them because, of course, I love working with the difficult dogs because I learn so much from those difficult dogs. But the rescues and everybody's doing a great job of getting the medical and the food and the physiological needs met. The fosters are, of course, meeting a lot of those social needs. And once we have those basic needs met, then we have to work on feelings of safety. The best thing that we can do to prevent all of those behavior problems, anxiety, stress, um, separation anxiety, aggression, those tend to go away. 95% of them go away when we provide feelings of safety and security. And then we can work on all the other stuff. And those things start to, enrichment, manners, and obedience. A lot of people start out with obedience, and obedience causes stress. If we're not really, really careful, obedience causes stress. So let's start out with the thing that's going to solve the problems in most situations for forever until the dog is stressed again, um, by meeting those needs of safety. And I just, if we can do that by putting up a couple of baby gates, if we can do that by going slow for the first 3 days when the dog is in their new home, If we can do that by providing a room that is always the safe room, where nothing bad ever happens,
Mhm.
how much, how much can we do to protect our fosters? How much can we do to help our rescues? Then to help that dog that you were talking about being a completely different dog for the trainer than he was for you. I'm betting, and I'd be willing to bet, a really nice breakfast, a little champagne, um, that that you were relaxed and you enjoyed the dog and you let the dog feel safe and you did, greetings that were, you turned to the side and were like, yeah, hey buddy, how's it going, and maybe walked away. Whereas when a dog's already stressed, my God, it's a new environment and everything like that. Think of how you are, how we as humans are when we're stressed. If I've just been stuck in traffic, let alone being abducted by strangers, put in a straitjacket, thrown into a little tiny confined box, and then thrown out in the middle of Mongolia where I don't speak the language, if I'm that stressed out, if I've just been stuck in traffic and somebody tells me, do this algebra problem, I'm going to be pretty freaked out by it. And I might tell them to go screw themselves, which is the equivalent of a doggy growl, right? So
Mhm.
if we can get our fosters, on board, and with peers, so much more important to, they're a guardian breed. They're specifically bred to guard from threats. So how are you going to create a dog who's threatening? Is by threatening them. That's their job. So instead, let's say, yeah, it's okay. I'm just a sheep. I'm just a part of the herd. I love you. You love me. I think, unless I'm reading your dogs wrong, and I don't think I am, that's the approach that's going to work for the long-term success for these dogs.
Totally agree here. One thing that I see also is that, um, see that little conversation we have here, how much beneficial it is for just our people who are watching. Is like, oh yeah, well I didn't think of that. Oh, actually I'm doing it. Actually, thank you for confirming what I'm doing. That little information flow, how much impact it does,
Yeah.
how much helpful it will be that actually we sit down in a troubleshoot situation that happened and proactively working on it. Because especially in foster, fosters are not a parking lot. It's a healing process. It's an in between home between chaos and future. The dog is coming in with negative thoughts. The dog comes in with trauma. The dog comes in with a health condition. Many people don't even know the health condition because these health conditions are camouflaged because of the stress. And I would say likely the reason why he lost his home was because likely an underlying medical condition. To 90% of the time, something is wrong. Nutritional, medical, stressors, breed genetics likely, but not really a lot influencing those dogs, but also part of it. So I need to understand my breed traits. I need to understand the trauma the dog is going through. I need to understand the neglect that happened and about breeding practices and trauma that's coming down from generations, right? And
Yeah.
that needs support. So the foster is a key figure in that, the key solution, because there is calmness, there is dedication, there is love. It's not just a number, and it's not just a gate, and
It's
it's
the
not just a
opportunity.
leash.
It's the opportunity to build trust and to start to build that
Exactly. And
animal's.
and bring the dog in this routine and that ritual that finally he never had before, creating a new start, a new imprint. I call this adopt a foster imprinting, that is connected next part to the adoption imprinting. So if the dog doesn't have this imprint set right, we need to restart it. And the rescues and the shelters need to know that. The dog, people want a plug and play dog. That dog doesn't exist. Well, I found a website that actually sells plug and play dogs. You use batteries for that, and you push a button and it moves and barks. But that's it. In reality, that's not the case.
Yeah.
But you know what? I want a dog. I want a puppy for my child. My child should learn how to handle dogs. We don't see the parenting aspect of it, and the dog has certain expectations that are usually not met. So those classes are important, and we can talk forever here. Now, um, what? How much would the class cost for an individual person bulk? Let's say we can get 100 people in a class or 20 people in a class in order to handle all those Q&As afterwards. What would be an acceptable price for a rescue, Sue? And I'm talking also to our viewers. What would be an appropriate price for you to say, you know what? I think I should do that. I should put that amount of money, A, to learn more about my own dogs, but A, to help my adopters be adopted out and actually contribute to my rescue that I'm working with. So how can we, what is the, yes.
Oh, so I want to suggest something that we're thinking of. Back to that pyramid kind of thing. We're thinking of, charging our first time adopters a certain price, and then charging adopters, fosters, a certain price, and then charging our experienced fosters who've been through the class before, charging them something like a mentor fee. I don't know whether that's $10 or whether that's um, half price or something like that. But so that what we can do is we can get our experienced fosters, we can get them a little bit more support, we can get them community, and we can get them more feedback from the experienced professionals. But we can also have them help out other fosters and take a little bit of that load off of the professional trainers, in answering, how do you potty train a dog? Well, a lot of people struggle with that, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not. You don't need somebody with a PhD to teach you how to, potty train a dog, for example. And that was one of my ideas for a way to make it a lot less expensive, and get a good community that could really, really pay it forward. Um,
Well, that's what we did too. For example, when we did the class, we said, this is the amount of time I need to do the class. This is the amount of information I need to support. This is amount of time. Because having an online class is not just an hour you're sitting in the class. It's preparing the class, putting the documents together, following up, supporting the
Mm-hmm.
group. It will be kind of a continuous thing if the group is being supported as well as kind of follow through. Because there's a
right.
lot of data coming in exchange. Somebody has to oversee it. And what you can do is you can create this um, investment distribution throughout. And I know many breeders who actually use one of my classes to kind of educate their adopters. Says if you have that adoption, you're going to go on the priority list if something happens, right? And that would be helpful because you give those people kind of a passport or kind of a ticket. You go through this class, you're likely better with my puppy, with my adoption, you're better with my rescue, you're better with my foster, and I have less expenses.
Yeah.
I have less returns. And a good rescue may have 7 to 8% return rate or better, but a bad rescue may have 50% return rates,
Mm.
right? Which is possible. And shelters have 13% return rates usually coming forth because they have to adopt out first come, first serve kind of thing, right? They don't have that choice of making decisions. Oh, I don't like that foster. Some rescues do. Some shelters do, some others not. Some rescues don't even, or shelters don't even do a home visit. Some rescues don't even do a home visit, especially now. So how can we support that? It has a side cost that has to be carried, usually by us. And that's why I think a price, maybe affordable price, will be like $30, $40 per person, okay, to do the class. And I think um, the trainer should be compensated because it's a lot of work to do around that. At the same time, the shelter and the rescues should get support and an organization out there like Mary's Fund or Petco donations, whatever it's called, that they do fundraising. And the rescue that I work with in a humane society, they got a grant. They put up a grant together. They wanted to support the system, and they got money for it. The same did Austin Shelter. So we also, as Hub, we need to share this information with our rescue system and our shelters so they can benefit from those benefits and start being able to distribute their funds into the community so that money goes really to the good place and not being
Mm-hmm.
lost in costs that are like bad quality food, cost more veterinarian bills, cost likely behavior issues, and that money just drains down the hole instead of reinvesting in a good place.
Hmm.
And I
I,
think Caitlin and I, we do
Exactly
the same thing here.
reasonable.
We try to make those rescues and those shelters and those fosters as a self-help. They should learn how to get the water. They should learn how to drain a hole. They should
to learn
learn
how
how.
to fish as
Exactly.
opposed to being
Good.
needed
You
to fish.
exactly. You did it. Um, and I think that's who's that?
I don't have that.
Right.
Sue, it looks to me like you've got a dog or a situation going on behind you. I can see you thinking about somebody at the door there.
Oh no, I have my girls at my feet here. I'm petting her. So,
Oh, that's
yeah,
what it
my
is.
Barley's on the floor here. Yeah, with me while I'm
Good.
talking.
I've
So,
got
Yes,
one of
ma'am.
those that I've been warming my feet with as well. Can
did,
I?
did
Can
we
I?
miss any point, you guys who are watching? Did we miss anything to talk about before we close?
Um, I don't think so. Yeah. This is my foster right now, and I just wanted to
Oh,
know for all of those folks out there doing rescue and foster and shelter surrenders and everything like that. Trust me, I know what you're going through. I've got that big bad boy. I've got 3 dogs up for adoption right now. Um, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. You know, meeting meeting everybody's needs and making sure that everybody goes home at the end of the day. But the best thing in the world is seeing it be successful. I don't want all of those dogs in my own home. As much as I love dogs, I love seeing them go off to a happy, happy home. I want it to be successful. So, yeah,
yep.
anything you guys, if you guys want to send me, anybody wants to send me a message and say, hey, this was my shelter, foster, rescue, adoption story. And this is the important part, what it would have taken to make it a better experience for me. Make me want to do it again. Make it work. How do I fit it into my busy day? How do I afford to do it? How do I make sure it's not emotionally traumatic? Please do. Absolutely.
You guys are really welcome even to join in the comments or to message us either through Caitlin's website or through my website and talk to us and share your information. It's helpful to build better classes. And if that was helpful for you, what you learned today, of course you have to share. Maybe you want to add some comments on it. Um, I wish we had um, more time, but next week we have Caitlin here as a guest again, and we're going to talk about
Thanks for the reminder.
what we're going to talk
Errorless
about.
living, how to live with your dog in a way that is, you don't have to shout at your dog all the time. If you set your schedule up carefully, your dog will really, really, and it doesn't have to be precise, it doesn't have to be by the clock. But if you listen to your dog and you watch your dog, we can make the living much more personal and much more individual and much, much less stressful for both your dog and for you. So that's what we're aiming for next week. Practical applications.
Awesome. So subscribe, follow, of course, like.
Mm.
I think the question is, so what did you learn today? What was your takeaway? And what was your takeaway, guys, watching our show today?
That this is, we're not alone in this, and there's help out there, and if
Yay.
the more we work together, the easier it will be for everyone to deal with, the problems we're facing. Thanks for
And we
doing
were
this.
both, yeah.
Thank you so much, Sue. And for my take, I would say we are supported. We are here to help. You
Mhm.
have to make informed decisions. We are here to help you take that information. We cannot take away your experience. You have to go through a process of learning those skills, and you have to learn how to communicate and how to help your dogs. And we're here to teach you those skills and tools. We have been through it. Um, and I feel having an open table and discuss things, what you're struggling with, will help us improve the service that we offer and improve the community, and being open to suggestion and changes. But we have to be flexible. Right now, it's a period, energetically, a period of new things happening we haven't been before. So we have to be very flexible. Our emotions are triggered. We have to make important decisions that sometimes are going against our belief systems, and we have to trust to our higher selves, and we have to trust our gut's feeling. Sometimes we have to make a decision beyond our comfort zone, but that is a learning process.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I really love how we talked about things today. um, I know everybody needs to go back to work.
Oh yeah.
And I see we're gonna soon get more information there. So, Caitlin, as soon as you have your class up and running, let me know. We're gonna do an intro. My class is next weekend. You're welcome to join. And
Let me go
yeah,
ahead and I'm going to put up a plug. I've got an online class and an online community for puppies. Let me put a plug in for that. It's available on the 101 Dog Spots page. And then what
mm,
we do is we put you into a Facebook group, and there's lots and lots of content there, because working with your puppy on this is from a behaviorist. This is a behaviorist saying these are the skills that you need to keep your dog from getting surrendered to a shelter. So it's
Mhm.
default behaviors, it's good socialization, it's being happy meeting and greeting people and dogs. And so it's called Puppy Essentials, and that's on my 101dogspots.com page, web page. And we would love to get more people in there so we can prevent you guys from going to the shelter and surrendering your dog, so we can prevent that heartbreak. Thank you.
good. Thank you so much for having everyone today, and looking forward for next week.
Absolutely. Have a great
Thank
night.
you.
Bye
Have a good
bye.
day.
Good to meet you, Sue.